PDF files. The answer is out there.
The Microsoft Fabric Certification Podcast with Kevin and Frank.
Episode 11. Escape from Hardcoded Hell.
I have a question. Your organization uses Microsoft Fabric for data engineering solutions. The team needs to create a data pipeline that ingests data from multiple sources, including local files, databases, and APIs, and loads it into a lakehouse for analysis. You need to design a flexible pipeline that reduces hard coding and supports dynamic integration. Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Which 3 actions should you take? Select all answers that apply. A. Hardcode data source paths. B. Pass external values with parameters. C. Use dynamic content editor for expressions. D. Use literal strings for parameters. E. Use static values for parameters. F. Use string interpolation for file paths.
Hey Kevin, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, Frank. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much. So, we have another question. The nice lady was asking about pipelines, right? So, are we digging deep into our deployment topic again, Kevin?
Well, Frank, I'm really sorry to disappoint you, but this time around, we're actually talking about data pipelines.
Okay. Could you please, for our listeners who might not understand the difference between both of them, could you please briefly, and I know this is also a question you can talk about an hour, I know, but could you please briefly show the distinction between data and deployment pipelines?
Sure. So data pipelines, everybody, is where you can orchestrate data movement within Microsoft Fabric, and also, for example, from external sources or to external destinations, etc., with a nice GUI-based canvas, whereas deployment pipelines in Fabric allows you to deploy to different workspaces that represent different stages or environments, if you will, like development, test, production, etc.
Okay.
So that's the short version of the difference between those 2 different types of pipeline terminologies.
Okay, so to my understanding, what you could do is you can deploy a data pipeline through a deployment pipeline, right?
Yes, and that is probably as much as we should say at this moment in time without making the topic too complex for everybody.
Okay, we don't want to confuse you. We want to help you understand the topics and understand the questions. So, okay, the main part about this question, as far as I understood it, is about that we want to reduce hard coding and we want to support dynamic ingestion or dynamic integration. Okay, so let's have a look at the very first answer, at the very first possible answer. Is hard code the data source path? How do you feel about this, Kevin?
Well, apart from getting a sense of deja vu, because I'm fairly certain we touched base on this in another recording as well.
Yeah.
Hard coding, as you can see, as part of the criteria, you want to reduce hard coding. So doing more hard coding is probably not going to be the right answer in this case.
Exactly. It's like, okay, we don't want to hard code, then this, and because of this, we hard code, which doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, so I think it's safe to say that A might not be the right answer. Right? So, okay, let's move on. And what we could do possibly is we can pass external values with parameters. How do you feel about this one?
Is it definite? As far as I'm concerned, you can add the parameters passed to pipelines a few different ways. For example, from a parent pipeline to a child pipeline, or with variable libraries, etc. So this will certainly allow for more dynamic integration. So I think this is definitely one of the answers.
So okay. What we will say for now is that B is one of the correct answers. And then this time again, Kevin, it is in the question. We know how many answers we need. We need 3. So 1 we already have. So awesome. So let's go to C. So what we could do probably is we could use dynamic content editor for expressions. What do you think about this?
I think this is a very good thing to do if you want dynamic integration, and I will explain to you why. So for example, and this is a practical real life example, you've got a lot of tables that you need to iterate through. and you want to do things with these particular tables, what you can actually do is put them all together in a for each loop, and then use dynamic content to actually get the name of the table to do all the certain tasks with. So in this particular case, again, it saves you having a hard code for lots of different tables, and it means you got more dynamic integration. So this is definitely, I think, another answer for us.
Okay, so we already have 2 from C, which is not bad. So let's move on and let's discuss what we could do with D is use literal strings for parameters. What do you think about this?
I think, again, this is kind of approaching on the hard coding territory.
Exactly.
So I think maybe it's not one of the answers. I think it's not correct in this case.
So maybe for people who don't know exactly the thing about this terminology, literal compared to IT, is whenever you have something like a string in quotation marks, like hello or something like this is a literal, and a literal by itself is a static value. So it's not dynamic, and using literal strings for parameters doesn't make any sense. Okay, so, but we have another answer, which is E, which is use static values for parameters.
This is pretty similar to the last answer, to be honest with you. And I think it's safe to say by my laughter that we can probably rule this one out as well.
Yes, yeah, because the thing is, if you compare the words, most the time the words say the same thing but with different words. Hard-coded, static, and literal is more or less the same, right? So we can just safely rule them out. So, and the other thing is we have one possible answer left, which is use string interpolation for file paths. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, this particular answer meets the requirements of dynamic integration, because you can do things, for example, like building at the dynamic file paths, etc. So I think it's safe to say we've identified the answers, Frank.
Awesome. Can you please tell a little bit more about string interpolation? So I don't know what was string interpolation. What is
It's just basically where you can do things like, for example, put in dynamic values to be used for file paths and things like that. So it allows for more dynamic integration.
Okay, understood. Awesome. So, well, I think another mystery is solved, right? And, well, we have the correct answers. We have 3 of them, like B, C, and F are correct answers to this. Any final thoughts on this, Kevin?
Nothing from me at this moment in time. There is one thing, actually.
Okay.
Can I correct myself here, everybody?
Yeah.
Take 2. So if you are looking for real world examples of this, there's a few different things online you can look for. For example, working with metadata driven frameworks. If you look at any of the solutions that are available online and some of the articles as well, it will touch on some of these topics to help you get prepared. Very good example of this, which I'm sure Frank will put a link in the chat for, is the Fabric Accelerator solution that you can actually get from GitHub and then experiment with yourself. And that will give you in a good mindset for working with dynamic integration in Fabric data pipelines.
Perfect.
So that's it from me.
Very cool. Yeah, I don't have to add something more to this, right? The only thing is beware, because the static values are out there somewhere, right? Okay, so again, thanks for listening to this episode. Hope to see you in the next episode as well. And bye-bye from me for now.
Thanks all. Bye.